the class please stand? Gentlemen, can you please remove your caps?
Mrs. Evelyn Thorne, Chairperson of the School Committee, Ms. Janice Rule, President of the PTO, Mr. Robert Smith, our guest speaker, Dr. Richard Moser, Superintendent, Karen Marza, Assistant Superintendent, Deans Bernard Battle, Jeffrey Doherty, and Alan Thomas, class advisors David Callaghan and Robert Russo, dedicated faculty, State Representative Carol Clevin, Selectmen William Dalton, Thomas Moran, Philip Eliopoulos, Michael McCall, and Dr. Stuart Weisfeld, School Committee members Cheryl Perkins, Sheila Pichette, Angelo Taranto, James Traeger, Principal Emeritus George Simonian, alumni, proud parents, proud grandparents, family members, and friends, I welcome you to our commencement ceremony for the Chelmsford High School class of 2002. Class, please be seated. When the class of 2002 first entered Chelmsford High, I remember challenging each of you to see this next stage in your education as a new chapter in the book titled The Class of 2002. I wonder how many of you recall this talk. Rather than a simple welcome to Chelmsford High School, I was speaking to you in metaphors. Rather than explaining the rules in your new schedule as high school students, I was talking to you as if you were authors. I'm sure many of you were totally confused. Like, man, what is this guy talking about? For those of you who, from kindergarten through 8th grade, were successful, I asked you to continue that success in your new courses and in our activities and athletic programs. And for those of you who had not yet realized your true potential, to those who may have had less than positive experiences thus far, to see your entrance into the high school as a rare opportunity in life to correct the past errors and to write a happier ending to your own book, thus making the class of 2002 a group of young people who will be remembered for doing it right. After 4 years at Chelmsford High School, after watching you for 4 years at Chelmsford High School, I've been there longer, I can state without qualification that this senior class has exceeded my early message. You've conducted yourselves with maturity and respect for others. You have defined the class of 2002 as one that will be sorely missed and fondly remembered. This is a class whom I feel I have known for more than 4 years. Some of you I had the opportunity to coach in youth soccer and to teach you how to lose. Others I've had the joy of surviving, and I use that word freely, a winter campout as part of Boy Scouts. So many of you I've become better acquainted with through our work together as part of Student Forum and Student Council, through watching you perform on the dance floor, as part of our athletic program, and on stage. Others I have known only from greetings in the corridor, a bit of joking around in the caf, and some from serious conferences in my office. I won't ask you to stand. Each of you I have held in respect and have received the same in return. Certainly I've enjoyed working with your class officers. Rebecca Bertman, President, David Musikowicz, Vice President, Adrian Deneen, Secretary, and Mitch Campbell, Treasurer. This class is well represented by Mr. CHS for 2002, Ryan DeMora. Students of the Year for 2002, Katie Gaddy and Dave Musikowicz. And certainly by your advisors, David Callaghan and Robert Russo. One member of this class I've known since he entered this world at 11 pounds and 4 ounces. A person I am proud to call my son. Excuse me. I promised I wouldn't get emotional. So much for promises. And I'm equally proud to be the principal for the class of 2002, soon to be alumni of Chelmsford High School, a class who most assuredly will be remembered as a class that did it right. In contrast to my usual graduation speeches, this will be somewhat short. Go ahead, you can applaud. And it also will not be about what I want you to learn from me, but rather what I have learned from the class of 2002. Over the past 4 years, I and the faculty have been given the opportunity to learn from the future, a rare opportunity given mostly to educators and others fortunate to work with young people, the future entrapped in the body of a maturing adolescent. The first lesson this class has taught me is the importance of believing in oneself. There are many of us present today, both students and adults, who have made some serious mistakes. Some of you as students made mistakes that threatened your graduation status. Yet the fact that you made mistakes is not the important issue. It was your attitude and actions after making these mistakes that have earned you the honor of being here in cap and gown, ready to receive your high school diploma. This is the true measure of your character and talents. By accepting responsibility for your failures and by recognizing your positive potential, you made a significant step toward realizing success. For this, I applaud you. Many members of this class have experienced success academically, athletically, and in their participation in our extensive offering of activities. Such success has become a tradition of excellence and a source of great pride at our school. I could list the number of teams that made it to the state championships, the number of first and second place trophies awarded to our musical groups, drama ensemble, math and science clubs, to our mock trial team and model UN teams, to our school publications. This senior class, like so many in the past, has illustrated the power of people combining their talents in service to others in accomplishing a common goal. To visibly indicate this impressive fact, I now ask all students who have participated on a team in an activity or were involved in community service to please stand. Please be seated. As impressive as this demonstration is, the class of 2002 has provided an even richer source of pride, that of watching the strength of character and true altruistic demeanor of so many of our students who, due to injuries or conditions beyond their control, were unable to participate during a successful season or in certain activities. In watching these young people cheering on their peers and delighting in the success of others, I learned that it is really not all about those in the spotlight. For each person who experiences an achievement, there are many on the sidelines and in the past who share a part in this moment of distinction. Let us each day remember to thank these individuals. And to practice this lesson, I wish to state publicly to the class of 2002, to your teachers and support staff, to your parents and friends, and especially to those among you who never have received any recognition, thank you for your important part in making these past 4 years so successful and so enjoyable. Please join me in applauding the unsung heroes among us. In watching the members of this class over the 4 years, I've witnessed young people who make the best of what life gives them. An incident during the prom captured this quality. The DJ was rocking the Park Plaza as almost 510 seniors and their prom dates were on the dance floor when the sound system blew a fuse. As Mr. Russo and Mr. Callaghan, Deans Battle, Doherty, and Thomas, and I were panicking, the students waited patiently, then realizing it may take time for the system to be restored, they began singing in impressive unison the rest of the song as they continued to dance. How characteristic of this group of seniors. Truly, there will be times in life when the metaphorical music to which we dance will be silenced, and the temptation will be to panic or to wait for others to fix the problem. I encourage everyone here tonight to remember the lesson of the class of 2002. At such times, make your own music and continue to dance. For if we allow others to silence our music, the Beatles, Madonna, and Dave Matthews would never have been. We'd still be dancing to Lawrence Welk, crippled by polio, and wondering if there really is life on the moon. Finally, I want to thank all our students at Chelmsford High School, but in particular the class of 2002, for the lessons you taught all of us during and the days following September 11th. As we watched the unthinkable happening before our eyes on TV and through news reports, many of us supposedly more wise adults were struck with panic and a growing belief that the world as we knew it was at an end. You, in the objectivity of your youth, demonstrated the healthiest of priorities. You reached out to your family and friends, to our staff, to your principal, to make sure everyone was okay. Then you mobilized to do what you could do to help, collecting supplies and money for those more directly afflicted. Your actions and unflinching resolve were one small step toward positively refocusing our learning community, and in so doing, helping the nation to take one large step to unite. Your invitation for students and faculty to recite the Pledge of Allegiance together each morning, a simple act, inspired adults and youth to believe in our nation and all it represents. While many adults were somewhat frozen in place by the events of September 11th, you went on with your lives, accepting the disappointment of canceled trips abroad, yet finding ways to realize your many talents and enjoy the simple pleasures of life as a free people. You kept us entertained with imitations of Michael Jackson, with your musical recreation of Cinderella, through the slapstick antics and visual comedy in this year's drama competition play, Black Comedy, and by the satirical and creatively humorous skits of New Zone. You taught us to accept loss as part of living, as you accepted your competition losses. But you also showed us to never count you out by beating such arch rivals as Billerica, Acton-Boxborough, Andover, Lawrence, Westford, Central Catholic, and other private schools in athletic and academic competitions. I must confess, I enjoyed your new chair of public from the stands when we were competing with teams from private schools. I shouldn't encourage that, but you have a lot to be proud of in being public school students. During this time when news commentators tried to make us believe that life was now different in the United States, you refused to live in fear or to be overtaken by hatred. Your actions have displayed the best defense to terrorism, a spirit of patriotism based on a positive pride in sharing one's talents in service to others. Your demeanor gave new meaning to optimism and understanding, while giving your community so many reasons to believe in the strong future of this nation. As you sit before me in caps and gowns, ready to begin writing a new chapter in the book titled The Class of 2002, let me tell you how much I have enjoyed living the future with you over these past 4 years. The chapters you have written during these 4 years are certainly filled with lessons for all, both young and older. I only hope future Chelmsford High School students will continue to live their lives by the inspiring standards you as a class have set for future Americans. If you are a reflection of the typical youth graduating from high school across the United States, then truly, as a nation, we are so blessed. The faculty and administration feel quite privileged to have worked with you, to have learned with you over these past 4 years, and I am most honored to be the principal of Chelmsford High School's Class of 2002. And now to begin our program. I call to the podium Allison Brown, a young woman from the class of 2002 who has distinguished herself academically and in service to others, and is a good friend of our salutatorian, and another wonderful reflection of the senior class. Allison Brown.
John Kolba, the salutatorian of Chelmsford High School's class of 2002, is not only gifted in the area of academics, but he is also a valued member of many different organizations such as the Theater Guild, Math Team, Rufus Porter Society, Thomas Jefferson Forum, class representatives, and the yearbook staff. While many of you have known John in the classroom as a conscientious student never too busy to assist another, others of you have known him as a carefree performer leaping across the McCarthy stage in countless theatrical productions, oftentimes losing his pants. Furthermore, you could always count on John to score big points for the math team, in addition to providing quality entertainment through his famous renditions of the Lumberjack song or Harvey the Wonder Hamster. Although John is well aware of the importance of hard work, his pride in CHS extends far beyond the classroom. John has exhibited his school spirit, dressed in pink during Spirit Week, and through his general enthusiasm. It can be said that John has certainly risen above the rest and has always been someone I look up to, in more ways than one. John is without a doubt an intelligent person, yet he has been sometimes known to lack common sense. He is one of the few people I know who will wear shorts and sandals in the middle of December. I would now like to introduce the salutatorian of the class of 2002, a man of many talents and many names. John Andrew Kolba, Johnny K, the Kolba Cabana, or just plain Kolba. So without further ado, here's Johnny.
Oh, that was graceful. In our final months at CHS, I'm sure that all of you noticed the sudden proliferation of the school's mission statement. At this time last year, the mission statement appeared in the front of the student handbook and the back of Lecture Hall 2. Now we do not need to seek out these remote locations to find the mission statement. A copy is in every room of the school. Now, to be totally honest, I'm not an expert on the mission statement. In fact, until most of the way through sophomore year, I did not know that one existed. But I've read it several times since then, and I noticed something about it. Throughout the mission statement, the prevalent theme is community. The statement begins with it. Chelmsford High School is an educational community. In fact, the word community appears more times than any other word in the mission statement. What is this community? This thing so important that it is the single most dominating image in the entire mission statement. We are the community, all of us here today. Students, graduates, parents, teachers, and administrators. We are a family. We cheer each other on to victory, we console one another in times of need, and we support each other through hardships. But why is this bond that we share so important? We students have been a part of CHS for 4 years. Now all of you, close your eyes and think back on the past 4 years. The triumphs, the tears, and the growth that you have experienced. I want you to focus on one event. Conjure it back into your mind. Try to remember everything. When it happened, how you felt, and where you were. Is it there? Now remember the people. Remember the friends and family who helped you and supported you. They gave you strength, courage, and the will to succeed. What you felt then, and what we all still feel now, is the community reaching out to each of us. I would like to share something with you, something that I found in Sean Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens. It is about geese. As a flock of geese flies south for the winter, it forms the characteristic V. The flapping of the geese in the front creates updrafts, making it easier for the geese in the rear to fly. The geese honk to support the lead goose and rotate which goose is in front as the lead goose gets tired. In this fashion, the geese can fly 71% farther than if each goose had flown individually. In many ways, we are like a flock of geese. Our fellowship helps all of us to achieve more than any single member could have alone. Take our baseball team, for example. They had a phenomenal season, undefeated through the first 13 games of the season, finishing 20-2, first in the MVC. Do you think they could have done that without teamwork? Or take the Senior Olympics, annually put on by the Thomas Jefferson Forum. Do you think Mr. Dangle, the faculty advisor, or Sherry Chen, the president, could organize and run that event all alone? The answer, quite simply, is no. It takes teamwork to make something wonderful happen. It takes community. As Helen Keller said, alone we can do so little. Together, we can do so much. The community that we have built with each other also forms a vast support network. Say that one of us is struggling in a class. Another will volunteer to help the student to grapple with the difficult concepts and to gain an understanding of the material. Whether it was academic, personal, or social difficulties, all of us have needed help at some point. The other members of our community are always willing to lend a hand. According to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., life's most urgent question is, what are you doing for others? Today, looking back on our past 4 years, we can confidently begin to answer that question. Although the details of each answer will vary, you'll notice several striking similarities if you survey your fellow students. We have tutored, worked together on group projects, combined our talents with others to make theatrical productions, and forged some of the best sports teams in the state. We have made friends, helped newcomers to feel welcome, and comforted each other. During our years at CHS, we have grown so close that we have formed an interlocking network, our community. The community is stronger than each of us individually. We are all supported by the community and strengthened by it. It is because of our community that all of us have made it through the rigors of high school and are here today. In a short while, we will walk back through that gate, this time as graduates. We will be ready to go on to new things, college, work, and the military. As we grow older, we will continue to form communities with those around us. These will add to the support we have received from our high school community, further strengthening us for the coming adventures and challenges that we will all face. I wish you all luck as you continue your endeavors next fall. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Now it is my distinct pleasure to introduce a young woman who has led the class of 2002 with enthusiasm, patience, sincere concern, and the demeanor of a true leader, the president of the class, Rebecca Bertman.
I, along with the 3 other class officers, Vice President David Musikowicz, Secretary Adrian Danino, and Treasurer Mitch Campbell, also along with our 2 class advisors, Mr. Rob Russo and Mr. David Callaghan, thought long and hard about what our gift to Chelmsford High School should be. And after pondering about it and getting a few hints from Mr. Meidel, I'm proud to announce that the class of 2002's gift will be a granite sign welcoming visitors at the front of the school. Our sign will actually replace another sign that was not quite as permanent as was hoped. Mr. Meidel, I hope you and the rest of the school enjoy it.
On behalf of the faculty and students of Chelmsford High School and the town of Chelmsford, I accept the gift of a new stone sign welcoming people to Chelmsford High School. In case you're wondering, this gift will be placed on the embankment near Dickinson and Emerson House and will become one of the first greetings to all driving up or walking up to the front of the school. I know I will remember the impressive character of the class of 2002 each morning when I'm greeted by this very special gift. It's a great remembrance of this class. Thank you, Rebecca. That's right. And now I invite Dan Shannon, the newly elected president of the class of 2003, to join Rebecca at the podium.
Dan, I got this gavel last year, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me senior year. I hope you enjoy it.
Okay. Thank you very much, Rebecca, for the gavel. I appreciate that. Now, I'd like to start off by personally congratulating the graduating class of 2002. You are in the midst of accomplishing a very admirable achievement, and I hope that you all make the most of it. I'd also like to personally congratulate your 4 class officers, Mitch Campbell, Adrian Deneno, Dave Mazikowicz, and Rebecca Burton. All 4 of these people have worked incredibly hard to ensure the quality and fun of your senior year. I feel that they've done a flawless job. I'd also like to thank Rebecca Burtman for being a great influence on my presidency thus far. I know she has got me started off on the right foot, and I'm hoping to achieve the success that she has attained this past year. Finally, class of 2002, I sincerely wish you all the best of luck in your upcoming endeavors and challenges that you will face. I hope that you will look back on your experiences at Chelmsford High School with a smile, and I hope that you always remember the positive experiences that you've had here. As the president and representative of the class of 2003, I wish you all the best in whatever you do, and all of us look forward to trying to fill the very big shoes that you leave behind. You will surely be missed by all of us remaining here at Chelmsford High School. Thank you.
Good evening again. Thank you, Mr. Meidel, the deans, Mrs. Thorin, our honored speaker, Bob Smith, faculty, parents, guests, and of course, my fellow classmates. I don't want to write it. That's all I kept telling myself for 2 weeks. I don't want to write it. I do not want to write it. It was my graduation speech. But why didn't I want to write it? It's not like I'm afraid to speak in front of large crowds, but I am experiencing a few butterflies right now. I'm trying to get through it. After a great deal of thought, I realized that the answer is simple. I just don't want to leave Chelmsford High School. And with the delivery of this speech, Chelmsford High School becomes a memory. Because we've attended CHS, we are who we are. We've met and sustained many friendships. We've been guided by certain favorite teachers, and we've participated in some of the most fun and spirited events. This school and our administrators have given us the opportunity to leave with a plethora of memories. Entering CHS as timid, awkward freshmen, we walked the halls of a school we knew nothing about. What exactly is a Hawthorne house? What is career exploration? And what counts as practical arts credits? I can still remember the first freshman Whittier House meeting with Dean Battle blabbering on about how he would know each and every one of our names by the end of high school. I never believed him. I wonder if anyone really did. But he spoke the truth. He does know us, as does the rest of the school and our community. Over the course of 4 years at CHS, the class of 2002 has made a name for itself and a diverse number of accomplishments. We've been MVC champs, gone to the finals in the MHSDG theater competition. We volunteered throughout the community through clubs such as Thomas Jefferson Forum and Student Council, as well as participating in church groups and scouts. We've been pretty busy, but our favorite memories of CHS should not sound like a college resume. So what is it that we should remember about high school? Should it be a certain moment? Maybe our first morp. We barely knew anyone, yet we still danced around for hours. Some of those people we first danced with are now our best friends. Maybe we should remember our first football game, either playing on the field or cheering in the stands. We walked around absolutely freezing our butts off, but we still stayed, and we managed to have a good time. Maybe all of senior week should be remembered the most. The chanting of "Oh, 2, oh, 2," or the embracing during our class song, "I'll Remember." What is more important, the first days of freshman year or the last days of senior year? Or do the most treasured memories lie in between? I guess there are no rules to lasting memories. Each day here at Chelmsford High School has been special for someone. The worst day for one of you could have been the best for the person sitting next to you. Most of us began our education here at CHS when we were 14 years old. We've been involved with this school for our Sweet 16s, our driver's licenses, and now for many of us, we're adults and we're registered to vote. We've matured these past years, and we've experienced a lot together. Now I'm going to ask you to all look around at each other and smile. Why smile? Because we're graduating, and at this moment, this moment should join the cornucopia of memories that we all have. I'd like to conclude my speech using a quote from Winston Churchill. Now, this is not the end. It is not even the beginning of the end, but it is perhaps the end of the beginning. Our high school graduation is just another stepping stone. There are countless more memories to be made, but I hope that you will all maintain some memories of CHS. Memories are important to keep because they define who you are. They are what you've done, who you've loved, and what you've learned. I want to thank CHS. I want to thank Mr. Russo and Mr. Callaghan, all the teachers and the administrators. And I especially want to thank you, the graduates, for giving me an infinite number of memories. I'm going to miss all of you. Thanks.
What we are celebrating today is not just the past 4 years, but it's your educational experiences from K through 12. I now have the pleasure of introducing a man who has committed his own talents and love for learning with other dedicated educators, town officials, parents, and students during many hours in meetings and in planning so that each student in Chelmsford Public Schools will have the best education possible. Please welcome our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Richard Moser.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. This is always an honor for me to introduce the guest speaker because it's a nice way for me to congratulate some outstanding young men and women by introducing somebody who is outstanding as well. This is a particular pleasure this year because we have Mr. Robert Smith, who is a 1950 graduate from Chelmsford High School. He's also a 1999 inductee into the Chelmsford Hall of Fame. We're very pleased to have him with us this afternoon. In preparing for this introduction, the very first thing I always do when there's someone who's graduated from Chelmsford High School is go back to the 1950 or the respective yearbook. And I learned a great deal about Mr. Smith. I learned that his favorite song back then was "Wouldn't It Be Fun?" I wonder how many people remember that one. I learned he was known as a thinker. It was prophesied he would become Chief Speaker of the United Nations. And under his class picture, it reads, Smitty motors to school each day, knows his physics, you strike a bell? Was a master of corny jokes. He was the champion at slow walking. And in quotes, he refuses to reveal his future plans. So it's with great pleasure that I have the opportunity now, many years later, to give you some detail as to what those future plans really look like. After graduating from Chelmsford High School, Bob went to Bentley College of Accounting and Finance in Waltham, Massachusetts. Upon graduating from college in 3 years, he then took a job with General Electric in Bridgeport, Connecticut, followed by General Electric assignments in 8 other locations, including Geneva, Switzerland, where he lived for some time. He rose ranks to become Chief Financial Officer of General Electric's international businesses, and then Staff Executive of the International Strategic Planning. Bob later left General Electric to become Senior Vice President and Treasurer of American Express. At the time of his retirement in 1990, he was Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of American Express Bank International. He was responsible for a company that had $20 billion in assets with 104 offices in 44 different countries. The high school prophecy of becoming Chief Speaker of the United Nations is almost true with that kind of an experience. Bob has stayed actively involved in Bentley College, where he has served as Chairman of the Board of Trustees for a 4-year term and still stays very active at Bentley College. Bob has a 1986 honorary degree of law from St. Anselm College in Manchester, New Hampshire, and a 1992 honorary doctorate of commercial science degree from Bentley College. In recent years, Bob has become the founding partner of Car Component Technologies of Bedford, New Hampshire. The company has grown to be the world's largest manufacturer of four-wheel drive vehicles or axles, with sales of approximately 3 million units annually. In 1950, Bob refused to reveal his future plans, but clearly these plans were filled with extraordinary success. Bob now resides in Guilford, New Hampshire with his wife Miriam. They have 2 children, Brenda, who is a veterinarian, and Rob is the Executive Vice President of Car Components Technologies. It's interesting, when I look through the yearbook, they didn't have graduation speakers back then, but they had 4 different people who came up and gave an essay to the group. So it's with a great honor to introduce Mr. Robert Smith, who will give his essay, We talked about a title of the essay. I think without hearing it, I would say it has a lot to do with the summits of your life. So let's welcome Mr. Robert Smith. Thank you.
Good evening, graduates of the class of 2002, and good evening to your parents, guardians, teachers, friends, and other dignitaries in the audience. Thank you for inviting me to speak to you on this very special day. The commencement speaker is a little bit like the body at an Irish wake. He is necessary for the occasion, but few pay much attention. Knowing what you want to do with the balance of your life is extremely important. However, a brief story. My wife of 43 years, Miriam, seated in the first row behind you, please give her a hand. She's had to put up with me for about 50 years since we started dating after I graduated from high school here in 1950. Well, to the story. We have 2 children. Our oldest, Brenda, knew at the age of 5 that she wanted to be a veterinarian, which she is today. Our son, Rob, had no idea of what he wanted to do. I recall meeting with him during his sophomore year at St. Anselm's, where he was very distraught. He felt he was taking all of the wrong courses. However, he has done just fine. Some of you are blessed with the knowledge of what you want to do, and others are not. So as you proceed in this world, do what you like to do. If you pursue and enjoy what you like doing, and that does not mean sitting on the beach, you will do very well. Now's the time to take risks when you're young. Gives you a lot of time to make up for your errors. Insofar as I am concerned, work is a pleasure. I retired when I was 58 because I could afford to do so. I stayed mostly retired for a couple of years. Then a friend of mine and his son, my son and I started a business from scratch in a garage in Manchester, New Hampshire. Today we are the largest remanufacturer in the world of front-wheel drive axles for automobiles and light trucks. We have 3 facilities in New Hampshire, 1 in California, 1 in Texas, 1 in Mexico. We employ about 1,000 people, and we sell 3 million axles annually. Be the best at whatever you do. If you always try to excel, strive for excellence, give each activity in your life your very best, you will be happy. I would rather see a young man or woman be a carpenter, an electrician, an auto mechanic, or whatever, and be very good at it, than to be the worst doctor or lawyer or accountant. I spent 28 years of my life working for General Electric Company. Miriam and I made many friends at GE, and although I left GE more than 20 years ago, we still have many friends from the GE family. However, one of our closest associates was never happy with his performance. He was always complaining that others, including me, were getting ahead of him. This is because he had selected the wrong field of endeavor. He did not excel at what he did, and as a result, he was very unhappy in his career at GE. Remember, do what you enjoy doing, do it well, and you'll be happy in the process. Today you have reached a new summit, your graduation from high school. Not bad on a global scale, where many people never have that opportunity. I say on a global scale because I want to count the more than 1 billion people in China, the subcontinent, and Africa that never get the opportunity to graduate from high school. Educating of the masses has not reached that point yet. However, high school here in the highly educated and highly competitive United States is not enough. You need to do more, and I'm sure that most of you are on your way to reach your next summit. Every day is a new day, a new challenge, a new opportunity to do better than you did yesterday. Be optimistic and always count your blessings. With the help of God, you can do anything that you set your mind on doing. Look at the glass as if it were half full rather than half empty. Select friends and associates that are optimistic. And above all, marry an optimist. If you follow this simple rule, life will be a lot easier and more pleasant. Because most of the problems that the pessimists see can never be solved. In fact, in many cases, they don't even exist. Be involved in your community. Giving time to the less fortunate is just as good as giving money. Also, be sure to get involved with government and be sure to vote. The last presidential election proves that every single vote counts. Some of you will pursue a career in government, and some will become involved with politics. Who knows? The 47th President of the United States may be sitting here tonight. If Bush were elected to a second term, and the next 3 presidents each served 2 terms, the 47th president would take office in 2033. So, Mr. and Ms. President, if you were to move into the White House as the 47th president, you'd be about 50 years old. And if you do, don't forget to invite me to the inauguration. You have been blessed. You have loving parents who have helped you to reach this summit, and most will continue to help you on your journey to the next summit, whether that be college, work, or the armed services. In addition, most loving parents will be there for you to turn to when things are not going quite according to plan. Call on their experience and at least listen to what they have to say. Although you may not believe it, they have been there and they have done that. You may not always heed their advice, but at least listen. You may hear something that will be helpful. And remember, it doesn't cost anything to listen. And quite often, 2 ideas are better than 1. You owe a debt not only to your parents and teachers, but to society. A society that's given you a chance to succeed. Start with your very first paycheck and give a little back to society so that others that are not as fortunate as you will have the same opportunity that you had. Do not wait until you can afford to give. Most who wait never give back at all. Be thankful for what you have, no matter how little or how much that may be. Most people in the world have far less. I have had an opportunity to travel extensively. By the way, I got paid for most of it. I have seen and worked with some of the most wealthy people in the world. I have also seen some of the most poor people in the world. If you were lucky enough to be living on the beach in Copacabana, Brazil, you would be in the top 1% of the world's most wealthy. On the other hand, if you were unlucky enough to live just 1 mile to the west in a tin shack shanty town with no running water, no sewage, no electricity, you would be in the bottom 10% of the world's population. Making friends and keeping them is important. I graduated from 8th grade in the east section of town in 1946. There were 13 in that graduating class. I and two of my closest friends were among the 13. We started first grade together. We have been close friends for more than 60 years. Although life took us on very different journeys, we have stayed in contact always, and today we're closer than ever. A couple of points to remember, which could be helpful in the future. Never think that you can succeed on your own ability, no matter how brilliant you may be. Luck is more than blindly awaiting the next event to happen. Luck is being prepared for whatever comes your way and making the best of it. Believe me, if someone ever gave you the chance to be smart or lucky, take luck. May God bless you and your loved ones. May you enjoy the rest of the night and have a happy and joyous life. Thank you and good evening.
Mr. Robert Smith, it's my pleasure to award you this honorary diploma, making you an honorary member of the class of 2002. I'm sure they enjoyed your words, your observations, and they'll look forward to seeing you at their reunion in 2007.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now I'm pleased to call to the podium another impressive member of the class of 2002, a good friend of this year's valedictorian, and a young man that has dedicated many hours to serving his community, along with a challenging academic and athletic schedule, Michael Fleming.
I can assure you that the person you're about to hear talk is going to provide some of the most remarkable minutes of this ceremony. But first, I think I should lay down some background in case anybody isn't familiar with Dave Musikowicz. I've known Dave as a classmate. Our schedules overlapped several times, and in between my shameless attempts to collaborate with Dave, I saw the respect which he commanded among both students and teachers. Obviously, his rank reflects his intelligence, but he also brings a sense of humor to each class he takes. He excels in his own right, but he also makes the classroom a more interesting, more humorous, and more comfortable place to be for everyone. I've known Dave simply as a peer. He's an active volunteer in his church and in other volunteer organizations. He recruits peers for can drives and fundraisers, and he helps out when he's asked to do the same. I ran alongside him in our elections last spring. And his election to the office of vice president was a reflection not only of the hard work invested in his campaign, but also of his peers' respect for him. For the past year, he's been making phone calls, selling tickets, generating class spirit, and most importantly, arranging the events of the past week. The prosperity of this class is owed in large part to him and his fellow officers. I've known Dave as a teammate on our school's cross-country and track squads. The fact that most of that time was spent several hundred meters behind him didn't obstruct the fact any that, in addition to being one of the MVC's elite distance runners, he's also a natural leader and friend to the entire team. He took underclassmen under his wing and made them feel comfortable, laughing and joking with them at practice, driving them home, and leading by example once the gun went off. In addition to earning their respect, he earned their votes for captain of both teams, track and cross country, roles he effectively fulfilled this year. Most importantly, though, I know Dave not as the Harvard-bound valedictorian with astounding accolades, or as one of the school's best milers, or as a devoted class rep, but simply as Muzz, my friend. Person with whom I wildly celebrated the Pats Super Bowl victory, with whom I go out to breakfast on Saturdays, and consequently borrow money, or drive around aimlessly and just talk, which is Chelmsford's most popular activity. In these spaces between his accomplishments is where I've gotten to know him as a person who won't fail to produce a smile, who gives a spot when it's needed, who seems to have friends in any situation and can be comfortable in any atmosphere and make others comfortable, and can make an interesting night out of a boring one. He's truly one of the most reliable and fascinating people I've come across in my life, and it is an honor to introduce him to you. So without further ado, about to ascend the podium, hailing from Chestnut Hill Road, weighing in at 155 pounds, ranked number 1 in the class of 2002, our valedictorian, David Allen Mizikowicz.
Thank you, Fleming. 1 and 8 years ago, our Father brought forth on this town a new building, conceived in enlightenment and dedicated to the proposition that all students shall be educated equally. Well, that proposition most likely has not come to fruition. We have not been educated equally. No two of us has had identical class schedules over the past 4 years. Some of us have focused on mathematics, while others have focused on the arts, while still others have focused on the weekends. No, indeed, we are not all equal. And yet, here's the paradox. Today, on the 8th of June, 2002, we are sitting here, side by side, in Simonian Alumni Field, all identically dressed in cap and gown, all arranged not by class rank, not by athletic prowess, but simply according to the alphabet. Sadly, the only segregation here today is that between the boys and the girls. And I suppose that is an attempt to keep our focus on the stage and not, well, elsewhere. Yes, today, perhaps more than any other day of our lives, we are all equal. The only difference between my diploma and your diploma, and even our cherished class president's diploma, will be the names printed on them. Although our class president does get to receive her diploma last, an honor which I personally believe should be reserved for the class valedictorian, but that's just me. So why then, if we are all equal on this day, if we are all being recognized for the exact same accomplishment, why then am I up here talking and not any of you? Is it because I'm better than you? As much as I'd like to believe that to be the case, it simply is not. In fact, it's really quite arbitrary when you think about it. I am sure that if we had the time, each one of us could stand up here and tell a story or teach a lesson, and no two of those stories would be the same, and no one of those lessons would be any less valuable than another, as if this ceremony is not long enough. So I'll cut to the chase. My lesson is this: don't sweat the small stuff, and it's the little things in life that really matter. How's that for contradiction? Basically, I just thumbed through a book of the most cliche quotes known to man, picked the two which were most opposed to another, and decided to combine them. But it's true. Don't sweat the small stuff, and it's the little things in life that really matter. So, now that I've dug myself into a nice little hole, I'll attempt to climb my way back out. Until we stop worrying about the small stuff in life, until we stop worrying about whether or not our pants match our shirt, until we stop worrying about whether or not someone teases us, until we stop worrying about whether or not somebody smiles at you in the hallway, until we absolutely stop fretting about all these little things, life is going to seem like much more of a hassle than it actually is. We need to have big goals, and we need to have big dreams, and we cannot afford to waste our time agonizing over our small fears and dislikes when we could be spending that time trying to accomplish our biggest, most fantastical aspirations. So here's where you think to yourselves, but I thought you also said that those little things in life really do matter. Don't you hate it when people tell you what you're thinking to yourself? As if I have an idea what you're all thinking to yourselves. In actuality, you're probably thinking, I've been sitting at this so-called graduation for an hour now, and I haven't seen one graduation. Well, I guess now we know why it's free admission. Nonetheless, it really is the little things in life that matter. So instead of sweating the small stuff, why not embrace it? Why not embrace the fact that your pants and your shirt don't match because, hey, who really cares? Why not embrace the fact that somebody didn't smile at you in the hall because, hey, maybe they were just too busy thinking about how much they really like you? Then again, probably not. But in any case, it is amazing how happy we can be when we just up and decide to stop being unhappy. If some of you don't like this speech today, I will be disappointed, but not necessarily crushed because, hey, at least that means you were listening. Now watch this. I'm going to magically connect the body of my speech back to the introduction and in doing so create the perfect conclusion. I cannot even count the times that I've heard people complain, it's not fair, and why does this always happen to me, and I have the worst luck, and so on, until my ears start to bleed. Basically, I have found that we often disillusion ourselves to believe that there are mysterious forces working against us in life, that things are inordinately unequal and usually not in our favor. And I'm not trying to say that we do all have equal opportunities in life because, as I've already said, we are each very different. But guess what? Look around. Today, we are equal, and not one of you can argue that we are not. And you just might find that when you stop sweating the small stuff and instead embrace it for the different textures that it adds to our lives, it gives you a chance to look around like this more often. And though we will never again all be wearing identical caps and gowns, and we will never again be arranged only by alphabetical order, you just might find, or that is to say, you just might be able to see it. You just might be able to see what you see here today, that we are all the same. That when you throw aside all the small things, our heights, our weights, our races, our strengths, our weaknesses, these dirty little mugs on the front of our heads that we call faces, we are all the same. Let me tell you something, as if that's not what I've been doing for the last 5 minutes. But let me tell you something anyways. When you realize that we are all fundamentally the same, you're going to feel darn good about yourself. You will be able to appreciate our overall equality not in spite of our subtle differences, but rather in light of them. You will then hopefully be able to each go out and make your own distinct contributions to this world. And so, I thank Chelmsford High School for allowing us to be diverse and yet allowing us to be one and the same, for allowing us to be the class of 2002. I thank the teachers and the faculty members for allowing Chelmsford High School to exist and excel and, in my opinion, thrive. And I thank you for being the class of 2002, for being the same as me, and for being uniquely different from me. Most of all, I thank you for being you. I thank you, and I wish you good luck, though I'm almost certain that you will not need it.
Educating our youth in Chelmsford involves a team effort. The presence of so many staff members today represents the sincere commitment of our talented faculty and dedicated administration toward the continued success of the class of 2002 and for all our students. In addition to the efforts of our faculty and administration is the committed support of our school committee to offer the best opportunities for all students to be prepared to enter the world of tomorrow. To achieve this goal, our school committee must face many difficult decisions. We are most fortunate in Chelmsford to have a school committee with the courage to speak up for our students, recognizing that public education is the cornerstone of our American democracy. I ask you to give a warm welcome to the chairperson of the Chelmsford School Committee, Ms. Evelyn Thorin.
Good evening. It is with great pride that the Chelmsford School Committee congratulates the graduating class of 2002. Now there's about 5 minutes left before you begin to get your diplomas. About halfway through that speech, I'm going to ask you to do something, so listen carefully. It is a personal privilege to share a few brief, and I do mean brief, words with you. Nelson Mandela once said, "Education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world." And he was right. Today is the pinnacle of years of acquiring technical and academic skills that will be with you for the rest of your life. The Chelmsford Public Schools are committed to educating the whole person, not only through academics, but also through music, arts, intramural events, clubs, and athletics. You have been given the tools necessary to learn and to succeed. You have learned how to learn. That will make all the difference in your life. Thousands of hours of study and attending classes were required to get to this day. Parents chart the course for their children. The public schools work together with parents to provide you the best education possible. Thousands of hours of commitment, planning, and devotion of teachers and family members were necessary to reach this day. Now, parents and friends, get your cameras ready. It is now time for another Kodak moment. Are you ready? Graduates, I would like you to stand, please. I would like you to give a round of applause or wave to thank your parents, family members, and the Chelmsford School staff for their commitment to you. Thank you. You may be seated. You may never remember these speeches, but a picture lasts forever. You are the future of our country. You are the first graduating class since September 11th. If we have learned one thing that your parents and their parents know, is that freedom is not free. There are two messages I would like to leave with you. One, everyone can make a difference. And the second one, do what you can do to leave this world a better place, because you passed this way only once. The ultimate measure of a person is not where they stand in moments of comfort and convenience, but it's where they stand at times of challenge and controversy. What will you do to make this a better world to live in? Robert Kennedy once said, "Few will have the greatness to bend history itself, but each of us can work to change a small portion of events, and in the total of all those acts will be written the history of this generation." You never know how or what you do or say today will affect the events of tomorrow. That reminds me that a philosopher once said, "Whatever advice you give, be brief." So in conclusion, I want you to know that everything you need to know about life you could learn from Noah's Ark. First, don't miss the boat. Second, remember that we're all in the same boat. Plan ahead. It wasn't raining when Noah built the ark. Stay fit. When you're 600 years old, someone may ask you to do something really big. Don't listen to critics. Just get on with the job that needs to be done. Build your future on high ground. For safety's sake, travel in pairs. Speed isn't always an advantage. The snails were on board with the cheetahs. When you're stressed, float a while. Remember, the Ark was built by amateurs, the Titanic by professionals. And last, no matter what the storm, there's always a rainbow waiting. The rest of this story is up to all of you. Always remember that Chelmsford is your home. We'll always be here for you. May God bless you on this day as you begin to change the world. Thank you.
The third component of our team effort toward quality education for our students is witnessed in the continued support of our parents. Very few high schools have so many support groups and involved parents as does Chelmsford High School. To recognize the importance of our parents and the achievements symbolized by our school's diploma, each year we invite a member of the executive board of our high school's PTO to assist in the handing out of diplomas. This year, Ms. Janice Rule, president of the Chelmsford High School PTO, will be assisting. And now, the moment you've all been patiently waiting for, the conferring of the diplomas.
Lindsay Jean Atchison. Wendy Josephine Albert. Lisa Marie Archibald. Meredith Ashley Ayen. Stacy Elizabeth Bianchi. Nicole Taylor Brooks. Kathleen Ann Campbell. Virginia Marie Carr. Jennifer Ann Chase. Laura Elizabeth Clark. Andrea Marie Cotty. Candace Jean Curry. Jessica D. Simone. Lisa Marie DeVincent. John V. Narendra Doshi. Ashley Cole Doyle. Emily Jill Dubner. Katie Laura Duggan. Kate Ashley Emmerich. Colleen Mary Foley. Lauren Elaine Frazee. Elizabeth Teresa Giacomo. Catherine Marie Gaddy. Jessica Ann Giannoni. Erin Lynn Gilbride. Bonnie Marie Goff. Aubrey Marie Goulet. Vanessa Marie Graziano. Catherine Elizabeth Janes. Dahlia Mary Catan. Candice Marie Kelly. Laura Elizabeth Kilroy. Anna Lauren Claybush. Natalie Ann Krigbaum. Kimberly Ellen Lane. Jillian Gardner LaRocca. Michelle Doris LeBlanc. Carolyn Monique Lindsay Razak. Lindsay Liu. Jessica Lynn McPherson. Diana Rose Margella. Laura Michelle Mead. Jillian Laura Morse. Tracy Elizabeth Nichols. Megan Ann O'Connell. Shannon Teresa Pager. Jennifer Josephine Perkins. Danielle Marie Rawls. Hillary Michelle Rand. Michelle Nicole Reedy. Kendall Canavan Rizzo. Leanne Catherine Roberts. Elizabeth Olson Seibert. Samantha Jane Spellenberg. Laura Elizabeth Spellacy. Marcelle Marie Taylor. Justine Renee Tilley. Kara Mian Turco. Allison Renee Underhill. Tien Tu Vu. Amber Dawn Walsh. Corona Chuten Wang. Tara Kristen Wells. Julia Marie Wilson. Suzanne Grace Wilson. An Yi Wong. Emmeline Alexandra Stokes Alling. Elisa Catherine Andrikopoulos. Renee Marie Bastarash. Jennifer Nicole Bishop. Allison Marie Brown. Allison Roberta Casey. Jamie Lynn Chemley. Ashley Elizabeth Cossett. Shara Ann Costello. Ashley Laura Dawson. Jennifer Rosanna Donlin. Bethany Joy Dremen. Carrie Ann Dumas. Jenna Christine Friel. Kellyanne Gibson. Elizabeth Gillette. Jessica Ann Goldstein. Laura Elizabeth Hagopian. Lindsay Ann Hanlon. Jennifer Eden Harbison. Catherine Helen Hayes. Amy Eileen Hindle. Judy Shen Yu Ho. Rebecca Elsie Jean Horn. Danielle Renee Nkropera. Aaron Lee Ivers. Tara Ann Kalinowski. Caitlin Mary Kane. Soen Kim. Megan Elizabeth Langlays. Catherine Jane Leonard. Robin K. Lima. Min Lin. Carolyn Mary Marr. Ellen Makarovich. Lindsay Ann McCarran. Kelly Marie McClure. Carolyn Michelle McAvoy. Lauren Catherine McHugh. Sonia Kadim Arrays. Jocelyn Ashley Newell. Catherine Ann Normandin. Erica Evelyn Owen. Amanda Marie Park. Yecha Marie Peters. Megan Kathleen Pregel. Kristen Linda Reedy. Heather Lynn Ryder. Stephanie Mary Sakalarius. Stephanie Marie Schroth. Amy Elizabeth Skinner. Angela Spurria. Caitlin Wheeler Steele. Nelda Marie Stewart. Megan Allison Sullivan. Sarah Catherine Towsley. Stephanie Louise Tremblay. JC Don Wolte. Beth Elaine Attaboy. Tessa Collins Alexopoulos. Jennifer Lynn Alves. Deborah Lynn Arsenault. Andrea Carolyn Benetti. Chantel Adina Berger. Stephanie Canellis. Stephanie Riley Chang. Sherry Therese Chen. Rebecca Lynn Shula. Eileen Tara Commons. Sabrina Elizabeth Costas. Caitlin Jean David. Adrian Marie Danino. Jill Marie DeRosa. Christina Marie Deloge. Paula Eleanor Dimmis. Alexandra June Dunn. Victoria Therese DuPont. Danielle Marie Ferretra. Brittany Christine Flannery. Katie Marie Gabriel. Adrian Lee Gagliardi. Lauren Beth Gibson. Kimberly Joy Guest. Caitlin Elizabeth Gormley. Lindsay Dawn Hadley. Caitlin Mee Harding. Emily Ruth Hazel. Amanda Jane Hennessy. Sarah Elizabeth Holman. Catherine Ingalls. Emily Laura Janot. Annalena Laporte. Jennifer Chongling Lee. Kristen Marie Lucas. Paula Jeanette Lundgren. Caitlin Marie MacArthur. Jenna Marie Martolucci. Kate Elizabeth McCabe. Lacey Ann Michaluk. Margaret Elizabeth Mondello. Stephanie Marie Morrison. Krisha Savitha Murthy. Karen Fitzgerald Palmer. Lindsay Jean Peralt. Faye Francis Ryan. Natalie Christine Scott. Melinda Ann Sheehan. Catherine Elizabeth Sullivan. Ashley Marie Taylor. Lily Mae Thompson. Brianne Marie Tully. Tiasha Marie Willette. Rachel Lynn Zeminski. Joshua Dennis Ackernite. Brian James Bano. Stephen James Black. Christopher Thomas Kakunis. Michael Joe Chan. Sakfasal Chiev. Shane Brian Combs. Michael James Davidson. Corey Tyler Decker. Michael Thomas DeGagny. Ryan Anthony DeMora. Stephen P. Donaldson. Joseph Generous Doty. Jonathan Paul Ducharme. Calvin B. Farrell. James Michael Ferguson. David Colin Fretwell. Edward George Fries. Stephen Andrew Giles. Joseph Edmund Giroux. Michael Anthony Gregorio. Elton Foster Hammond IV. James Francis Haru. Jeffrey Michael Hilson. Glenn Andrews Howe. Brian Dean Jenkins. Matthew Joseph Keir. Thomas Robert Cothy. John Andrew Kolba. Michael Jason Loisel. Christopher John Main. Brian Christopher Marino. Andrew Paul Martineau. Nicholas David McAllister. Brandon Ellis McDonald. Thomas Evan Meller. Eric Paul Miller. Patrick Arthur Monjo. Edward Michael Marassi. Ryan Patrick Mullins. Adam Wayne Noon. David Michael O'Brien. David Patrick O'Grady. Michael Patrick O'Neill. Nicholas J. Otazo. Brendan William Perham. Samuel James Peters. Austin James Pasecco. Michael John Prey. Adam Frazier Quadden. Jeremy Allen Roby. Jacob Michael Rowe. Christopher Brett Sendelbach. Jeffrey Peter Smyton. Tien Van Tran. David Michael Umbarger Jr. Tien Yang. Matthew Paris Adamson. Christopher Ryan Bojack. Jason Robert Bogel. David Richard Byrne. Stephen Michael Call. Mitchell Hamilton Campbell. Peter Wesley Card. Alexander Rupert Carvin. Brian Paul Delaney. Paul Bennett DePoyen. Michael Lawrence DePalma. Kalen Robert Donahue. Jeffrey Allen Douglas. Benjamin Victor Ellingson. Jesse Platt or Hardick. Aiden William Fitty. Brian Edward Frukerall. David Paul Gilfeather. Philip Michael Gleason. Christopher Michael Goodall. Ryan Christopher Greenwood. Greg Stephen Galuzian. Brandon Eric Gendrock. David Siha Kem. Michael Anthony Kugler. Robert Harkins Layler III. Sean Scott Lavoie. Sha Lu. Eric Long. Matthew Nelson Lowe. John Robert Martin. Daniel John Mataliano. Timothy John McGowan. Christopher Paul Melvin. Jonathan Daniel Marino. Sean Keith Moriarty. James George Papadopoulos. David Burton Peruzzi. Patrick Ty Foe. Christopher James Prutzer. Edward Raymond Reardon. William Ward Rosenberry. Michael Kenneth Scarber. Todd Jason Shattuck. Andrew Thomas Sheridan. Edward Joseph Slavich. Robert John Snow. Michael Stephen Sterrett. David Paul Sullivan. Michael John Thompson. Michael Allen Upton. James Joseph Urban. Aaron Jensen Wiener. James Edward Welsh Jr. Kevin Joseph Wally. Raymond William Wilson. Gary Robert Baker. Mark Nathan Brown. William Lawrence Brown. Bradford Patrick Campbell. Timothy Patrick Carroll. Robert Thaddeus Queso. Matthew Robert Casper. Arthur S. Chadbourne IV. James Edward Clancy IV. Jeffrey John Clark. Nathan David Cormier. Anthony Matthew DeCenso. Thomas Michael Donegan. Craig Michael Ducharme. Michael Maurice Fleming. Benjamin James Gasper. Gregory Ryan Gervais. Rory Justin Gill. Daniel Clifford Gregorio. Kyle Robert Hammond. Justin P. Hoffman. Alan Michael Johnson. Joel Gordon Johnson. Prem Shankar Kalana Sundaram. Mark Randall Coach. Nicholas James Lamplow. Dennis Andrew Langner. Christopher Charles Manahan. Louis Brian Martinez. Benjamin Paul McAllister. Thomas Bertram McCormick. Mark Edward McDonnell. Christopher Stephen DeRubis Meidel. Brandon K. Moy. David Allen Muzikowicz. Jason Denny No. Kwa Nyak Nguyen. James Hadley O'Connor. Zachary Adam Barikas Osteen. Eric Daniel Pomerlow. W. Philip Putis Jr., Kyle Edward Roberts, Christopher Nelson Robinson, Michael Robert Rogers, Michael Edward Ryan, David Robert Salvucci, Jeffrey David Smart, Ryan Howard Smith, James Michael Soha, Kenneth Thomas Soliotis, Dennis Michael Stott, Tyler Russell Sullivan, Daniel James Tringali, Vasilios Fodios Singos, Christopher Ryan Vanoski, John Anthony Volpe, Timothy Harry Wellman, Michael Richard White, and the president of the class of 2002, Rebecca Marie Bertman.
Turn your tassels!
It is my great pleasure and honor to present to you the graduates of Chelmsford High School class of 2002.